The alarm hit like a hammer. A hard, sharp beep 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 cut through the concrete at 3 a.m. Red lights flashed. My steel door locked with a deep clang I felt in my chest. A calm voice came over the speaker. All inmates do not move. Perimeter alert. In a place called the prison built for no escape, those 2 words, perimeter alert, were the loudest words in the world. I was on my feet before I knew it. My cell at ADX Florence was a concrete box with a bed, a desk, a toilet sink, and a small pencil-thin window set at an angle. I could not see the yard or the fences. Only a slice of high desert sky and one hard star. The light above me hummed. The air felt tight, like the room had taken a breath and was holding it. Boots hit the floor outside. Fast. Heavy. A team passed my door, shields, helmets, vests, each step the same size, each breath the same speed. My slot rattled once and went still. Down the range, a door opened and shut. Radios clicked. Keys clinked. Another voice on the speaker said, Sally port sealed. Stand by. The whole building seemed to lock itself like a puzzle box. I pressed my palm to the door, then pulled it back. The metal felt colder than ice. I listened for voices from other cells, but ADX was made to keep noise from jumping. The walls swallowed sound. 23 hours a day, that was the rule. You could live in this box and never see a face for weeks. The alarm cut off. The red light stayed. Then a different sound slid through the vent, low, slow, like wind behind a door. It was not wind. It was the desert outside, I told myself, or the fans or the pipes. The speaker clicked again. Grant, a voice said, steady and calm, stand by for movement. Movement? At this hour. My mouth went dry. Movement at ADX meant plants. Layers. Doors that opened only after doors behind you shut. The place worked like a lock inside a lock inside a lock. I stared at the slot. It stayed shut. The speaker clicked once more. Grant, you will comply. Cuff up at the slot. I slid my wrist through and felt the cuffs bite. Face the back wall. The door's motor whirred. The seal broke with a sigh. The team outside did not speak. They moved like parts of one machine. Inmates secure, someone said. Proceed. That was the peak. The moment you feel the design of the place tighten around you like a clenched fist. The prison made to stop escape was now closing in around one small cell, and I was the reason it was moving. Hours earlier, weeks earlier, years earlier, the road to this place had looked the same. Brown land. Long fences. Signs that did not brag, only warned. They call ADX Florence the Alcatraz of the Rockies, but the truth is quieter than that. It is poured concrete in numbers. It is doors that only open by remote control. It is small windows that let in sky but not the layout, so you cannot map what you cannot see. When I first got here, an officer said 6 words, follow directions and time will move. He wasn't cruel. He was clear. That is the language here, short and exact. Cuff up. Step back. Hands visible. The hallway floors shine like glass. Cameras are set where you cannot see them. Doors are double. Gates are double. Fences are double. Your food arrives through a slot. Your shower is alone. Your hour of exercise is alone, in a pen that lets in sun but not faces. The first week I made a plan to keep my head. I woke with the light even if I had not slept. I did push-ups, slow and counted. I read the same book 3 times until the words felt like stones I could hold. I wrote letters to my sister, Leah, even when I had nothing new to say. Dear Leah, I wrote, today I saw a cloud shaped like a boat in my window. It moved from left to right. That means the wind is different than yesterday. I stuck the letter in the envelope and waited for the slot to open. Small winds, I learned, are the only winds in a place built to stop everything else. There are myths about ADX. People say there are lasers, tripwires, tricks like in the movies. The truth is simpler and harder. The trick is design. The trick is distance. Your hands never touch a real doorknob. No one person can open all the doors. If you go from cell to shower to yard, it takes 3 officers, 2 radios, 2 sets of keys, a camera, and time. You move only when the building agrees to let you. There are highs here even so. A high is mail day. A real stamp. A real curve of a sister's handwriting. We had snow, Leah wrote once. I made cocoa and thought of you. I held the paper to my face and breathed slow until my hands stopped shaking. A high is Sunday. That 1 hour in the pen, with a square of blue and a bird that crosses it like a quick black thought, might carry you for the next 23. There are lows. Lows are long. A low is when the speaker clicks and no voice comes out. A low is when time slides and you cannot catch it. A low is learning how loud your own mind can get when there is nothing else to hear. One afternoon, a counselor's voice at the door asked if I wanted a book on desert plants. Yes, I said so fast I made myself smile. I learned the names of sage and rabbitbrush and four-wing saltbush. I liked that last one. 4 wings. It sounded like hope that learned to carry its own weight. A different day, a property officer came to swap my worn shoes. He spoke like the first officer, short, not unkind. Toe wear, he said, glancing at the sole. We'll issue new. He slid a form. I signed. The slot ate the paper back. He moved down the range and the quiet closed up behind him like water. Every system in this place taught one idea: no escape. The outside fences had coils on coils. The ground had sensors to feel feet where feet should not be. The roads curved and then dead-ended at gates with numbers for names. The towers watched but did not need to watch. The walls did most of the work. Back to the night of the alarm. The team led me out, 2 on my arms, 1 behind. We moved through one door. It shut and locked. The next door opened with a soft click. The air changed from cool to cooler. The cement smelled like rain that never fell. Past a camera. Past a glass panel with a green line of numbers I could not read. Stop, a voice on a radio said. We stopped. Proceed, the same voice said. We proceeded. Why the alert? I asked calm as I could. No one answered. That is another rule here. Only the words that need to be spoken get spoken. They put me in a small room, the size of a closet, with a bench, a ring on the wall for cuffs and a thicker window. Hold, someone said. The door shut. The team left. I sat and listened. Far away a gate slid. Nearer a fan hummed. The red glow over the door blinked steady as a heartbeat. Minutes or hours, I cannot swear which, passed. The door clicked. A single officer stood there now, a folder in one hand. He wore the same gray, the same calm face. He set the folder on the shelf, opened it and looked at the first page. Michael Grant, he read. Movement due to facility posture. He turned the page. You will be housed on a different range. What happened? I asked. He met my eyes for one quiet second. Sensors flagged the outer fence. Protocol followed. He closed the folder. That is all. False alarm. I asked. He didn't nod. He didn't shake his head. Stand, he said instead. Cuff up. We moved again, door lock, until we came to a hallway I had not seen before. The floor here had more scars. The paint had more stories beneath it. The officer typed a code on a pad I could not see. A heavy inner door opened with a deeper sound than the others, like it came from the ground itself. We stepped into a tunnel with walls that curved. The air was cooler still. A light ahead flickered and held. I could feel the building around me, the weight of it, the math of it, the years of it, settle deeper as if I had been walked into the center of a fist. My chest tightened. My hands tingled in the cuffs. The officer's radio crackled once, then went dead. Keep moving, he said. We reached the next door. No window. No camera I could spot. Only steel and the feeling of more steel beyond it. The officer lifted his hand to the pad, and paused. He listened to something I could not hear. He lowered his hand. From the other side of the door something knocked. Not loud. Not slow. 3 quick taps, then 2 like a code that belonged to the place, not to people. The officer's jaw worked once, like he was chewing on a word and decided not to say it. He keyed in the code. The door's bolt slid back with a sound like a zipper through stone. Cold air sighed through the seam. Grant, he said, voice even, you're going deeper. The door started to open. My heart pounded so hard I could feel it in my teeth. Beyond the gap, I saw only black and heard a new hum, lower, older, like the building was clearing its throat. The officer stepped aside. The door swung wider. And in that strip of darkness, before my eyes could learn its shape, a second voice came from inside, calm, close, and not from a speaker. Welcome to the part of ADX you don't read about. The officer's hand tightened on my arm. The tunnel lights flickered once. Then the power cut. The door finished opening to pure, heavy dark. The dark swallowed everything. The hum stopped. The sound of the officer's breathing vanished too. For a full second, maybe more, it was like the world outside my heartbeat had gone. I couldn't see my hands, couldn't hear the cuffs, couldn't tell if my eyes were open or closed. Then one click. A flashlight beam cut through the black, thin and white. It swung across the walls, across the floor, then found my face. I squinted. Power failure, the officer said, voice tight now, not calm like before. Stay still. The beam flicked around again. The tunnel walls shimmered with condensation. Cold air rolled past my legs like fog. The officer pressed his radio. Unit 2, confirm blackout. Static answered. He tried again. Unit 2, this is escort. Do you copy? Still nothing. All right, he said finally. We're moving. He tugged at my chain, guiding me through the tunnel. The flashlight bounced ahead, showing gray walls and another door in the distance. Keep walking, he said. But as we got closer, I noticed something. The tunnel wasn't empty anymore. There were marks, faint, scraped into the concrete, low near the ground. Lines, numbers, maybe letters. I slowed down to look. The officer yanked the chain. Eyes forward. We reached the next door. He typed something into the keypad, but the pad didn't light up. He cursed under his breath. Manual mode, he muttered, pulling a small key from his belt. He turned it once, twice. The door clicked but didn't open. He leaned in and said, "Override lock, open cell D6. Nothing. Then, slowly, the bolts started to slide on their own. 1, 2, 3. The sound was thick, like stone scraping against metal. The officer froze. He hadn't touched the lock. Who's running the door? He barked into his radio. Unit control, confirm. Who's operating D6? Static again. The door opened. Just enough for a shadow to spill through, a figure backlit by a faint red glow deeper in the tunnel. It didn't move. It didn't speak. Just stood there. The officer raised his flashlight. Identify yourself. The light hit the figure's face. For a second I thought it was a reflection. The eyes were open but they didn't blink. The face was gray, waxy, almost still. Then I saw the tag on the chest. An inmate uniform. The officer stepped forward. Get back in your... The figure fell sideways. It wasn't standing, it had been leaning. The body hit the floor like a bag of sand. The officer's flashlight dropped. My cuffs clinked as I stumbled back. Is he? Stay there, the officer yelled. He crouched beside the body, shined the light again, and muttered a word I couldn't hear. His radio crackled suddenly, just for a second, then a voice cut in. Containment breach. Sublevel corridor sealed. The officer looked up fast. What sublevel? He said into the mic. We're in D tunnel. What breach? Static. Then, return to primary gate. He stood. We're leaving. We turned back toward the tunnel entrance. The flashlight wobbled with each step. The air felt thicker now, like the darkness was heavier behind us. My chest hurt from breathing too fast. When we reached the first door, the officer typed the override again. The keypad stayed dark. Come on, he whispered. Come on. He slammed the side of his fist against it. From behind us came a sound. A slow scrape like metal dragging on concrete. We turned. The flashlight caught the far end of the tunnel. The body was gone. The officer's breath hitched. He backed toward the door, still holding the radio. Control, he said, voice shaking. This is escort D tunnel compromised. Immediate backup. The radio crackled, then died again. The scraping stopped. The tunnel went still. Listen, he said quietly. You don't talk, you don't move. Understood. I nodded. He took a breath and leaned close to the lock. Manual override. He turned the key one more time. The bolts groaned. Then finally the door opened. We stepped through and into another corridor, narrower, taller, the walls lined with steel pipes. The door behind us sealed shut automatically with a heavy thud. The officer didn't speak for a while. We just walked. The pipes dripped. Somewhere far above, a vent rattled. After maybe 10 minutes, we reached a junction. A sign on the wall read Service Hall C. The officer stopped. This way, he said, pointing right. We turned and found another door. This one wasn't metal. It was reinforced glass, thick and fogged from the cold air. Behind it was a small room with 3 desks, all covered in dust. A single computer monitor blinked faintly in the dark. He pushed the door open. The hinges groaned. Inside, the room smelled old, like burned plastic and rust. He wiped the dust off one monitor. It flickered to life, showing a map, rectangular boxes with lines and circles connecting them. In the corner, ADX facility layout, sublevel operations. He leaned closer. This shouldn't be here, he whispered. They said sublevels sealed. I looked at the screen. The map showed multiple wings branching out like veins. One section blinked red. D6 active. That's where we were, I said. He turned slowly toward me. You weren't supposed to see that. The lights above us buzzed and dimmed. Let's go, he said quickly, stepping back toward the door. Now. But before we reached it, the computer screen changed on its own. The red dot moved. Then another line lit up, tracing a path through the tunnels toward our position. The officer stopped breathing. That's movement, he said. From D6. The dot kept moving. Closer. He turned to the door. Run. We bolted through the hall, the cuffs clanging, flashlight beams swinging wild. The pipes overhead moaned as air rushed through them. The officer shouted into his dead radio, "Control, respond. Respond." The dot was still in my head. I could see it even with my eyes closed, sliding closer every second. We reached another door, unmarked this time. He pulled the key ring, tried one then another. The third turned. The door flew open and we stumbled into a larger chamber. It was colder here but brighter too, a maintenance bay with ladders leading up and thick cables running across the floor. The officer slammed the door behind us and braced it with a bar. I leaned against the wall, gasping. What was that back there? He didn't answer. His hands shook as he reached for a panel on the wall and flipped a switch. The lights brightened a little. Then we both froze. On the opposite wall, written in marker on the concrete, were 4 words. No one leaves ADX. They looked fresh. The officer's face went pale. This area's been sealed since '09, he whispered. I took a step closer to the writing. The ink was still wet. Before I could say anything, a noise came from above, a metal grate shifting. We both looked up. A vent cover rattled once, then fell to the floor with a crash. The officer raised his flashlight. Dust swirled down from the open shaft. And from inside the vent came a sound, not a voice this time, but something slow and heavy, crawling through the dark. He pointed the light upward. Who's up there? No answer. The flashlight beam caught movement, a hand, pale and scarred, reaching through the vent bars, fingers clawing at the edge. The officer stumbled back, drawing his baton. Stay behind me, he barked. The hand withdrew. Then, in a voice that wasn't quite human but wasn't far from it, the thing in the vent whispered. You can't build walls strong enough to keep us in. The flashlight flickered. The air in the room turned ice cold. The officer looked at me, his mouth half open like he wanted to say something brave but didn't know what. Then the lights went out again, completely this time. The last thing I heard before everything drowned in darkness was the vent cover sliding again and the whisper, closer now, right above us. They never told you what's buried under Florence.